Hey guys, Blue Bear Crypto back with another video. Today we'll be going through the full process on setting up your GPU mining rig. There's timestamps in the description if you want to skip through. The topics I cover are the parts you'll need, building the rig, flashing HiveOS to an SSD, the setup process within HiveOS, wallet setup, flight sheet setup, overclocks, and finally how much one of these can set you back in 2025. I hope you enjoy. I'm going to go through each piece of the puzzle, everything that we need to get one of these set up from start to finish. The only thing off the top of my mind that I haven't got here right now is the SATA to USB cable, and that's what we'll use to flash the hard drive with a HiveOS image. I use HiveOS. It's just quite good at monitoring your rig wherever you are. Got a good interface and you can change any settings and switch what you're mining to on the fly. So yeah, let's go through what we have got. I've got an ASRock H110 Pro BTC Plus motherboard, and that's because we have got a ton of PCIe slots, 13 in total. You do not need that many if you don't want them. You can literally have any motherboard. A lot of them come with like 2 or 3, depends how many graphics cards you want on your setup. And then followed on with that, we've got an SSD, we've got some RAM, got a processor in here, power supply. So I would recommend, if you're doing this, to get a server power supply, because I've had 2 ATX power supplies, so just like the normal gaming PC power supply, and they both, one popped on me and the other started showing signs of faults within like 2 or 3 years, which is a good amount of time. But the server power supplies are meant just to be pushed to the limit constantly. You'll find that these last a lot longer, but at the same time, if you want it to be as quiet as possible, you're probably better with going down the ATX power supplies. These are workhorses. I still wouldn't push it to the absolute limit in terms of what it can do. This one is a 1500 watt power supply, so realistically I would probably not want to go over 1300 personally with that. With the power supply, you will also need a breakout board. This is what all of your graphics cards will be powered by, and also you'll power the processor. And then if you've got any external fans that you want to attach to your rig, you can do. This is a mining frame. This is for 8 graphics cards, and this cost me, I think, just over £10. You can get some really nice open air frames. I've just gone for the absolute cheapest. And for graphics cards, I've got a Founders Edition 3060 Ti, and then I've got my 4 6600 XTs. These are basically the first cards that I bought back when Ethereum was king and we could mine it, which we can't anymore unfortunately, but it doesn't stop us from mining. So yeah, these are all still going. Riser cables, these red ones are just the absolute cheapest Amazon ones. This is just a cheap Amazon riser. These are GPU riser ones, and funnily enough, I've had more of the GPU risers go on me than these absolute cheap Amazon risers. I feel like with risers, more expensive doesn't necessarily mean it's going to last longer for you. Off the top of my head, that is all that we need so far. So what I'll do is I'll make a start. We'll get this connected all up, and then we'll be able to start hooking up the motherboard, connecting all the pieces together, flash HiveOS, and then we'll be able to get running. Let's go. Alright, here we go. This is the frame, and like I said, this is really super cheap. You get a on-off switch that you can plug straight into the motherboard. All the screws, you got your mounting screws for the motherboard. This is by far the cheapest that I can find, and it's a massive gap between this. This is like, what, between 10 and 15 pounds, and then the ones closest to it are like 50 pounds, 80 pounds, 100 pounds. Yeah. So I put this on. You don't really need this soft like GPU holder sticker bit, because most risers come with that anyway, but no harm in it. So I've got it, I may as well put it on. Yeah, I will probably need to take this off so I've got more access to get the actual motherboard in, but yeah, looking good. The power supply is sitting next to the motherboard, and I'm connecting the main motherboard cable along with a 4-pin processor connection, then RAM and SSD after this. Once they're in, then it's just a boot button and plugging it in, and you should be ready to go and start adding graphics cards after a quick test of seeing if it will actually turn on. So in order to use HiveOS, you want to boot it to your SSD, and in order to do that, you need to download it here at hiveon.com/install. You want to go down to GPU, you want to click the zip. That will download that, and then what you'll have to do is flash it using a tool, either Balena Etcher, which is here. You just download it and then select the file with your drive connected with that USB to SATA connection, and then flash it. This used to work for me. I couldn't get it to work this time, so if it doesn't work, use Rufus, which it looks like a dodgy website, but it's a really basic download, and just get the standard Windows 64 if that's what you've got. This is the one that would work for me, so just try that if Balena Etcher is not working. Now, to get a rig connected to this hard drive, you will go click on your farm when you've logged in, click on add rig, right, and then you want to connect existing because we've already installed the drive, and then you download rig.conf. You want to just slap that in there. And that should be it. As soon as the rig's up and running, it should automatically connect. We are definitely going to find out if that is the case. So, where we're up to at the moment is I have got 2 GPUs connected up to the board, but I haven't actually plugged them in just yet, just to make sure that we have no issues with this actually just working. So, we've got HiveOS booted up with my board. I've got a DVI, I think it's DVI-D. You basically just have to confirm if you want to set up Wi-Fi. Press enter to continue with this URL. I need to put my rig ID in and password, and then we should be good. So I will do that now. And there we go. So you basically put your rig ID and password in that's on HiveOS for the one that you put on your SSD, and then it should come up with this screen, or the amount of GPUs that you've got connected up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this off and try and connect all of these GPUs, and yeah, see how many are showing up. This needs 2 Molex inputs to power all of the PCIe slots. So this is connected directly to my power supply. Splits off here, and that's what powers these. It'll come up with like an error message saying that the PCIe Molex cables both need to be connected before it will register any graphics cards. So they are in. Right, so 3 are in at the moment. And I've never really experienced this problem before, but as I'm putting these in, the solder joints, I don't know if you can see that back one, it looks like it's touching. This back one here. It looks like they're possibly touching just because of how close the PCI slots are. So what I'm going to do is use some tape and just try to insulate and isolate them from touching, because I feel like that's going to short out. We are up and running. We are stuck on this screen because we haven't given it a flight sheet or anything to do, so it is just waiting for the world to start running basically. Everything's working. Lovely jubbly. We will get onto HiveOS on the computer and we'll go through what we need to do next. So something that you want to make sure that you set in the BIOS, and I haven't done this yet, so we'll go through this now, is have the motherboard just turn on as soon as power comes to the board. And then it means if you have a power cut or for whatever reason you turn it off and then you want to just turn it back on, it means you don't have to physically press the switch on the motherboard to get it turned back on. As soon as the power comes back on, it will just boom, back on. So we will get that set up now. You want to go to chipset configuration, and you want to go all the way down to restore on AC power loss. That's just for this motherboard. It'll be different for every single one, but they'll roughly be the same. And it basically means that it will boot the device once power comes back to it. Just enable that as power on, and then you can save changes and exit. And doing this will save you so much time in just having to press an extra button if power does disconnect or anything. So boot straight up. we'll go straight into HiveOS. We are connected, we've got Ethernet plugged in. So we will go to HiveOS now and we'll get the flight sheet sorted and then all the other fun stuff. So once you've got your rig up and running, everything connected, everything working, it should look a little bit something like this. Your farms, depending on how many rigs you've got, you might want separate farms. Say, for example, if you've got 2 different areas that you mine in, say like a garage and then another location, then you would have separate farms just to keep it a little bit more organized. This is the rig that it's coming up with. And if you just click on it, we can see it's been booted. It doesn't have any uptime because it's technically not mining anything. We have got an update, so we'll give it an update. Why not? So you want to go to your farm screen, which you can get to by just hovering over the top, clicking on your farm. And then you go to wallets. You click add wallet, and for this example we will be doing Xano, and then you copy your wallet address from wherever you get your wallet. It could be cold storage like a Trezor wallet, or it could be a software wallet or browser wallet, whatever you choose. Just make sure it's a legit one and keep it nice and simple. Name it what it is. If you get a wallet connected to an exchange, you can fetch your wallet balance, which is, I can see that that'd be pretty handy if you want to just see it within HiveOS how much you've got. So this is just a software wallet, so we can click create. That sets that up, and that also means that we are now ready to create our first flight sheet. So to do this, you go to flight sheets, you click on add flight sheet, click on Xano. It will come up with a drop down. You can have different wallets for different things if you have more than one of the same coin wallet. And then to select pool, you go to whichever one you want to choose. I'll pick Lucky Pool IO, and we'll do low to mid-end cards. Sometimes you have to switch between the miners. Some miners don't work for certain coins, and also if you've got a mixed rig, which I feel like it causes the most problems having a mixed rig. You either want AMD or NVIDIA, but you can do both, and you can also add a new miner, so you can set a few cards to do one coin or whatever, and then you can set a new miner so you can have multiple GPUs doing different things on the same setup, which is quite cool, but it can make it a bit more complicated when you start getting problems. If we go into our overview now, we have got some rigs mining. I've got hash rate watchdog on, which means that if it goes below a certain hash rate, then it'll automatically reboot the miner. Sometimes they just stop working, and that's just a part of GPU mining. With auto fan settings, you want your critical temperature to be, well, it's automatically at 90. I would say that might be a little bit too high. If your cards hit that temperature, then they will turn off. You really kind of want to keep this on. Say if you're away from home and something happens. For example, for me in the past, I used to run overclock settings on the miner within the flight sheet. If you go to miner configs, you can set up overclock settings here. I used to do that. If I remotely rebooted a rig, what started happening was it would put the overclock on twice. And it did this for my Octominer, which it's got 8 3070 Ti's in it, and the consumption, which should have usually been about 2 kilowatt, maybe 2.3 kilowatt, it was like 3.1 kilowatt, which is more than what the power supply could do. And also it was massively overheating the cards as well. You definitely want to make sure you've got something here just to protect your cards in case something goes wrong, because chances are at some point it will do. So my target temperature is 55 degrees, which means that it will try and keep the cards at that rough temperature. For example, my 3060 Ti is at 57 degrees now, and it will start ramping the fan up. If it goes higher than that, it will probably go higher. You want to try and maintain them at a certain temperature. I try and go for 55 degrees. I don't have to push too hard for the higher fan speeds because the setup I've got in the shed, it's a very nice airflow with one side as an intake and one side as an exhaust. But yeah, you don't want to set this in a room where there's no fresh air coming through, or it's not even cold air. You just want moving air. The next thing to go through would be overclocks, and I will just show you the lazy way of doing overclocks, and then we will go through the right way of doing overclocks. So the lazy way of doing overclocks is to go to a GPU mining site. You can go to like what2mine or hashrate.no. I'm just on hashrate.no for this example. It tells you for this is all for 3060 Ti cards, what the profitability is at the moment. If we go down to Xano, which is our example, and we get our overclock settings here. This is just a base setting that someone's decided is a good benchmark to set for your overclocks. They're usually pretty safe to use. I would say for the AMD cards, overclocking is a bit more temperamental, so you really want to be checking the overclock and then adjusting it as you go, because you might find that they crash quite a bit more easily, like my cards do. So if we want to overclock one card specifically, we click on the overclock button on the right side of the specific card. If you want to do all of them, you click on all. If you have either a full set of AMD cards or a full set of NVIDIA cards, this won't show up. Say if you've got one card which is a bit more of a problem, say you'd set 1000 on your core clock for one, then when you do a space, if you can see here, we've got GPU 2, and then we could do like a slightly small overclock for that one, and then say if the others are okay, you could do the next one and the next one. That's how this works. You set your values based on each GPU. Very simple, very easy. Also very easy to crash your computer if you just set a nice high overclock. You want to make sure you also get these right. If you put the wrong setting in the wrong place, then you overclock at your own risk, essentially. You can damage your cards if they get too hot. So your core clock for Xano will be 1470, and then memory clock offset, HiveOS is based on Linux, so we can use this one, which is 2000 megahertz. And then power limit is 200 watts. And then just apply. And if we do that, we should see that the power consumption is either stayed the same or gone down, and the hash rate has gone up. Or if we're super unlucky, we'll see that the rig has just gone offline because we have made the card unstable and it stopped mining. And it's gone up a little bit, 29.25. That's the easy one. To do this properly, every graphics card is different. What you would want to do is you'd want to increase these values and maybe go increase them starting with like 50. So you'd bump that up by 50, see what happens, see if it's stable, see if the power consumption against the hash rate is better. So if you're mining more efficiently, or if it's causing problems, or sometimes you can have a really high overclock and the power consumption is like double what it was before. So it's not efficient. You're getting a higher hash rate, but the efficiency means that you're actually just losing profit. Also, something else to bear in mind, if we go to the profitability of these coins, as of right now, I pay just under 7p a kilowatt, and I think this is currently in pounds, so that's GBP. So this is at 7p a kilowatt, and for one 3060 Ti, I would lose a penny a day because profitability is down at the moment. Now, this hash rate and this efficiency is based on a perfect world situation where your card absolutely loves this overclock, and because of the silicon lottery, it's almost never going to happen like that. So if we look at just this card, we'll pretend that the wattage is correct, 168, 164. All right, so quickly putting the details that we've got from HiveOS into what2mine's calculator for Xano. We're currently getting about 29.25 mega hash. HiveOS says we're pushing about 165 watts, and I've put 0.09 kilowatts because this is in dollars. This is saying that we, over a day, would lose 9p. When you do set things up and you are happy just to get running, you need to make sure that your overclock and what you're mining against how much power you're using. And again, I'd recommend using a watt meter. Then you can calculate your overall mega hash and an accurate wattage of how much you're currently using. And then that will give you the most accurate representation of how much you're actually earning. And that's if you want to make sure that you're definitely being profitable, or you want to know exactly how profitable you are. Let's go on with the time lapse and we'll see how much hash rate and how much power I can get out of these. All right, guys, so I have ended up using hashrate.no's overclocks just to save time for now. I think I'll make another video down the line showing how precise you can get with overclocking. It just takes a long time though, and it's just a lot of trial and error. I haven't bothered with the MVDD and the MVDDCI, just keep it nice and simple. And these top three, at the moment, we are currently mining Xano at 77.29 mega hash. And we're going to use what HiveOS says it's mining at, which is 392 watts. So this full rig is going to lose me 11 cents a day at the moment on my current electricity cost. I do have solar in the day, so on average my electricity cost is actually less than this, but I'm just basing this on an actual electricity cost. And I don't think that's too bad for saying it's bad market at the moment, so this is really low times for mining. So now we get to how much all of this actually cost, and I'm going to go through each part. I'm going to use eBay as a representation of how much the used market is for these kind of things, and yeah, let's walk through them. So I'm seeing a lot of the H110 Pro BTC Plus boards on eBay. Something like this, it's a lot of little things that you need all in one. This one's going for £31.92, so we'll use this as an example and say that we bought this as the motherboard. Don't always get risers, it's hit and miss whether they get sold with the motherboards, but for this example we'll say that we have to buy risers. Just as an example, for cheap risers, you can get cheap risers on Amazon as well. So we'll add £7.55 to the equation. SSD, just need a cheap, cheerful, doesn't need to be a massive SSD. It can be a lot smaller than this, or you can get an NVMe. They seem to be a lot cheaper than SSDs at the moment. We'll add an extra £5 onto that. And then we'll go to the power supply. So you just want to search for a server power supply, whatever wattage you want. I put 1500 watts because that's what I have on my current setup. And you can get one of these pre-owned for £29, and these are workhorses, so if it says it's been refurbished or anything, it's probably going to last you a massive amount of time still, especially compared to buying an ATX power supply. I would never buy a used ATX power supply. We would need a breakout board with that power supply. I would recommend, if you're having a look at breakout boards, you want to make sure that you've got one with the motherboard pin connection, also Molex, because you'll need to power the board with Molex, and you will need a splitter. You can get a splitter for like £2 or £3. But yeah, so we'll add £11.11 to the equation. You can get these for dirt cheap. The most expensive thing is actually just the graphics cards. So 16600 XT you can get for £139 an AP on the used market. This is more than everything that we've just set up to get this working. So we have a working mining rig, we just need graphics cards, and one graphics card is worth more than all of that put together. Now, if you were setting this up when Ethereum was proof of work, you would probably be close to £500-600 worth of kit by this point, just because everything was profitable then. To see the difference on how cheap everything is, and people are selling, people are getting rid of mining rigs, and I think it's just a good time to take advantage of it. So yeah, you can get 6600 XTs for £139 and 8p. I've also got a 3060 Ti, so you can get these for £180, which is actually crazy to see, because again, when I used to look at used 3060 Ti cards, these were going for almost £1,000, a used graphics card. You could buy this, I think it was for, I want to say like £320 or something. That comes at a price of £834 and 89p. This kind of rig back in the day
would have been at least 2 or 3 grand. Massive, massive price reductions. And I am a firm believer of sell when everyone's buying and buy when everyone's selling. The main difference for me in the UK is that my set electricity rate isn't consistent throughout the day. So between midnight and 7, I pay 6.7p per kilowatt. And then for the rest of the day, I think it's like 24p. I also have a battery, which means that I don't pay that 24p because when it's sunny, I can keep the rigs on, and the combination of the solar and the battery means that I don't pay those higher rates. And it also means if there's enough solar, I can just keep the rigs running through the day, and we can run all the rigs again on that nice, tasty 6.7p per kilowatt. That's about it, guys. If you've got any questions, let me know. If you look around hard enough, you can find good rates on anything. People are selling at the moment. There's a chance that things will get even cheaper. If you wanted to get into something like this, I'd say now is a better time than when everything is super profitable and you think to yourself, I should have got into it, I'll get into it now. And you're buying something that could have cost you £834.89, and you're spending £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 trying to get the same thing set up. I don't think the prices will ever go as high as they used to because everything was brand new. The 3060 Ti's had pretty much just come out when this was happening. Let me know if there's anything else that you want to see, and I'll see you guys in the next one.